ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणं तमाहो पण्डितं बुधाः त्यक्त्वा कर्मफलासङ्गं नित्यतृप्तो निराश्रयः कर्मण्यपि प्रवृत्तोऽपि नैव किञ्चित् करोति सः।
In relation to verse number 13, there is a question. What is doing and non-doing at the level of the senses, mind and the intellect? What is doing, what is non-doing? In verse number 13 he says, I am the doer and I am not the I am the doer and I am not the doer. I created the fourfold caste, but know me to be the non-doer. So, in the explanation of non-doer, certain things were told. From that arose this question: what is doing and what is non-doing? At the deepest level, anything that you are conscious of is doing. The moment you become conscious, the duality comes in. That is doing. Doing means the duality. So, what is doing? All the functionings of the equipments are doing. This is at the subtlest layer. Doing means the moment you become, the moment you are conscious, what enters? The doing enters. Non-doing is that which happens independent of, which happens all by itself, which happens all by itself without a cause. That is non-doing. Doing is happening for a cause. That is the fundamental difference. Happening for a cause, happening without a cause. So all that is doing, all the actions has a cause. The moment you talk about the cause, what has entered? The moment you talk about a cause, there is a doer doing for that particular cause, working for that particular result, all that enters. Non-doing. What is non-doing? Without these two examples, non-doing cannot be understood. One is light on the stage, second is actor on the stage. What is non-doing? actor on the stage, light on the. Without these two examples, non-doing cannot be conceived at all. But even that is not complete, because the actor on the stage also has a purpose. Even there he has a purpose. So there is no example that can completely convey what is non-doing. So what we can do is understand all that which is doing and keep negating it. What is non-doing per se cannot be told, even though you can give 2-3 examples like actor on the stage. It doesn't help you at all, because you immediately start thinking actor has a purpose. Actor doesn't do without a purpose. So therefore, even that actor on the stage and all doesn't help you beyond a point. Light on the stage is more appropriate, but light is so lifeless. Light has no. So again you cannot relate to that also. If you really start thinking, there are these two examples have limitations. So what is non-doing? Non-doing per se cannot be understood as such. Understand doing and keep eliminating it, you will end up in non-doing. So the process of knowing here is through elimination. Negate that which is not, and you will end up in that which is. All scholastic education work on a ulta principle. They talk about that which is. Vedanta takes the ulta direction. That which is not what it is. Negate it. So the non-doing can be arrived only by the negation of the doing. So what is doing? That you can understand. There is no non-doing at the level of the senses, mind and the intellect. There is only doing at the level of the senses, mind and intellect. Only at the level of the consciousness there is non-doing. There is no non-doing possible at the level of the senses. There is no non-doing possible at the level of the mind. There is no non-doing possible at the level of the intellect. For these are all instruments of doing. That which is the instrument of doing, how can it non-do? Are you able to follow? The three equipments are instruments of doing. It is meant to do. You follow? Can the body non-do? கஷ்டப்பட்டு பத்மாசன் போஸ்டர் எல்லாம் உட்கார்ந்தா கூட ட்ரெயின் பண்ணி ஆஃப்டர் அ வைல் it has to move. So non-doing at the level of the body is not possible. Level of the senses is not possible. You can close the eyes. By closing the eyes, you don't stop seeing. Even when you close the eyes, you still close the eyes now, you can still see. Unless you are in deep sleep or coma or something where the senses itself ceases to exist. When the senses ceases to exist, doing, non-doing makes no difference. Therefore, the body, the senses are designed for doing. The mind is designed for doing. The intellect is designed for doing. That which enlivens this is the non-doing. That which enlivens this, that which vitalizes this, that which gives energy to this is non-doing. For vitalizing is not a doing. Consciousness is not a doing, because how do you understand that? How do you understand conscious is not a doing? How do you understand consciousness is not a doing? Because consciousness can never become unconscious. It is the body that becomes. Are you able to follow? Anesthesia kutta, you don't become unconscious. Consciousness doesn't become unconscious. You don't become unconscious. What becomes unconscious? The body. Since you have identified with the body, you say, I became unconscious. Consciousness can never become unconscious. If consciousness can become unconsciousness, then what will bring the consciousness back? You are caught in that absolute confusion. Absolute confusion provided you are thinking. If you don't do all this, it doesn't make any difference. Therefore, the senses do not get, there is no non-doing as far as the body is concerned. There is no non-doing as far as the mind is concerned. There is no non-doing possible at the level of the intellect. For these are all instruments of doing. They may cease to exist. But as long as they exist, they will be doing. They may cease to exist. Are you able to follow? So what is non-doing at the level of the body? There is no such thing. What is non-doing at the level of the mind? There is no such thing. What is non-doing at the level of the intellect? There is no such thing. In 16th verse, chapter 4. இப்போ நம்ம chapter 4 தான் இருக்கும். Correct. Don't worry, இன்னும் 2 more verses தான். 14 தான் இருக்கும் இப்போ. In 2 more verses, kim karma, kim akarma, kavayaha mohitaha, he says. He is going to say. Normally we don't talk 2 verses. Normally we don't talk 2 verses ahead. We always talk about the verses that we have traditionally. But நம்ம தான் கீதா இதோட 15 வாட்டி படிச்சிட்டோம், ஃபுல்லா பேக்வர்ட்ஸ் அண்ட் ஃபார்வர்ட்ஸ். அதனால அந்த ரூல் இங்க அப்ளை ஆகாது. What is doing, what is non-doing, even the wise is deluded, Arjuna. Kim karma, kim akarma, kavayaha. Kavayaha means the wise. Mohitaha. Even the wise are deluded as to what is doing, what is non-doing. Now here, this karma and akarma is not in the sense of instruments and consciousness. This karma and akarma is always in terms of the vidhi, the law, as in what one should do and what one should not do. You follow? First he always takes the highest and explains. Even though I am doing everything, I do everything, but I don't do anything. Krishna Papa the Marva statements he will make. We just have to swallow that and keep moving. Then he goes on to say, kim karma and kim what is doing and what is non-doing, even the wise one is deluded. There he talks more on a much more practical level, and all the Shastras arose out of this question. What should be done? What should not be done? If this question doesn't arise, Shastras are not. Animals don't have this problem at all of what should be done, what should not be done. Therefore, they don't need Shastras. A human being alone always has this. What should be? Kim karma, kim karma. What to be done, what is not to be done. And the Shastras is nothing but an explanation of what should be done and what should not be done. You follow? Those who follow the Shastras are called smartas. That's the definition. One who follows the Shastra. As in karma and akarma. What should be done, what should not be done. Higher than that is what should be done, what should not be done. What is higher than that? Non-doing. Which is consciousness, which is Brahman, which is enlightenment. One set is to nothing short of liberation. Another is liberation, we'll see later. What to do, what not to do. Make the stay comfortable first. Make the stay comfortable first. Then we will talk about liberation. Vedantic knowledge is a complete knowledge because it talks about this and it talks about that. It talks about karma, akarma, what should be done, what should not be done. That is why it's called various dharmas, various laws of life is explained. Karma and akarma. Distinct and different from that is the consciousness. What is the definition of God? Tattvamasi Svetaketu. You are there, no. What more? What more definition you need? Yuna, the consciousness in him. Prajnanam Brahma. What is God in you? The eyes is not God. The nose is not God. The ears is not God. What is God in you? For these are all instruments. These are all instruments. Then what is God? The consciousness is God. Oh, this is too much to. இது first 2-3 வாட்டி கேட்கும்போது நல்லா இருந்தது சார். இப்போ we are neutralized to. இது கேட்டாலே தூக்கம் தான் வருது. இந்த டிஸ்கஷன் ஆரம்பிச்சாலே we only fall off to sleep. ஏன்னா அதுவும் we got used to it. It doesn't make any difference at all. When we get into this discussion of what is karma, what is akarma, the vidhi, what should be done, what should not be done, appo ego, the coil, the snake wakes up and starts thinking, asking various questions. For who are you to say what should be done, what should not be done? Don't try this, sir. Huh? See, you put up a temple here and tell people to come. Nobody will come. You put up a temple and say, so many people are not allowed to come. What happens? Sometimes I used to think, class all are welcome, nobody is allowed to come, maybe there will be a gate crash. But still it will not work. They will come only to create nuisance and not bother after that. Yeah. For the ego wakes up only when what is karma, what is akarma and the discussion la vandada ego wakes up. Till that time you talk about consciousness and all, ego sleeps. So, but then one in a generation or one in 100 generations is ready for consciousness also. Therefore he talks about that. You follow? Talks about it. Fight potent they will. Yeah. Supreme Court case they will go. Put the same temple here and say there is a temple here. Come na? Nobody? Yeah. இதெல்லாம் பண்ண கூடாதுன்னா who are you to say that? Are you able to follow the distinction? For the doing in terms of vidhi, as in do, don't do, is always very attractive. Is always attractive. The non-doing principle remains completely unattractive. You follow? Do na, you should do. One fellow will break and say, who are you to say that? Another fellow says, I am ready to give my life to protect this. One fellow says, I am ready to give my life to protect this. Another person will say, I will give my life to break it. You follow? All these, which is of the ego, comes in only in terms of in doing what should be done, what should not be done. The moment you talk about the enlivening principle, the moment you bring in an enlivening principle, what happens? What happens? Nothing will happen, because there is no role for ego in it. The ego cannot do anything in it. And the human mind always has this, always is tempted to do that which the prohibited actions are more attractive than the sanctioned actions. Shastras have sanctioned something, Shastras have prohibited. And that which is prohibited is always attractive than the sanctioned. Because of the fundamental ego. What is the fundamental ego? Who are you to say? Who are you to prohibit? Who are you to say you should not? I will. Shastra says, okay, do. Consequence on that, don't come back. When you are faced with the consequence, don't come back and ask what to do. That is prohibition. For they have seen the They have seen the consequence. According to the Shastras, two things are prohibited. Special Naraka is reserved for these two. Once in for Naraka. Symbolic. And if you do these two, special Naraka. Special? Sada dosa? Special dosa. On the mother. What is that dosa? Menu card pasta than Abu Raja Solan dosa. Correct? Raja Solan dosa. There is one. Have you tasted that? I will make a mudil dosa. They said prohibition. Who are you to say? Who are you to say so? Or I will do. Consequences. And what are the consequences? How to explain there is a consequence? So they gave a graphic description. There will be a naraka. In this, these things will happen to you. It's a graphic description of explaining the consequences. And two things if you do, you will story two things if you do, special naraka. What are the two things? If you sell water and if you sell food for a price, the naraka that you will go to is, thank God, we don't know what naraka we will go to. Is there naraka like that? Has anybody gone and reported? Where is it? Therefore, is it not a very good business? Somebody said, no? Who said that? தலை அப்போ மட்டும் தலை தூக்க மாட்டாரு. மிச்ச நேரத்துல அப்படி நிற்கும். ராங் திங் சொல்லும் போது மட்டும் இது நாட் அ வண்டர்ஃபுல் பிசினஸ் ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி. கரெக்ட். நரகா தான். Now this is prohibited, which you have to take on its own authority. For the consequences cannot be understood if you don't have the penetrating capacity. So either develop the penetrating capacity or avoid the action. If you develop that penetrating capacity, you will know the consequences. Once you know the consequences, Shastras vidhilla thevilla. You don't do ni yarume solla vendam. You will automatically. Yeah. If you don't have that penetrating capacity, what do you do? Or what should you do in order to safeguard yourself? Simply follow. And the human mind will not do both. It will not develop the penetrating capacity and go on breaking all that is prohibited. Because it is prohibited because they are able to see the consequences. You follow? If you smoke, smoking causes cancer. But all those who die of cancer, they are not smoking. Therefore, smoking has no correlation to cancer. What will you end up doing? They are saying something which you can't which you cannot understand now. Are you able to follow? Most of the time in life, we don't understand this. We all ask questions much before we are ready for the answers. We ask questions where we are not ready for the answers. The child is asking a question. What is the question? School போறதுனால என்ன பிரயோஜனம்? Question is correct. The child asking this question at the age of 8, 9 is, the question is correct. But is it ready for the answer? You can give the answer. But the child is not ready for the. Therefore, what you should do? Either develop that penetrating capacity or simply follow the Shastras. The tragedy enna, unless you implicitly follow what is said, you can never develop that penetrating capacity also. That's where it is. That's where a human being is caught. Unless you implicitly follow, you can never develop the penetrating capacity also. During the course time, anybody goes with a problem, he will say follow the schedule. Follow the schedule. Simply follow the schedule. Everything becomes, you will have to become, simply follow the schedule. என்னுடைய ப்ராப்ளமுக்கும் following the schedule க்கும் what is the connection? You follow? You can keep asking this question for ever and decide after getting the answer I will start following the schedule. You follow? You can eternally debate, wait for an answer and then start following or follow. Are you able to understand the difference? When you do it like this, chances are you can hit the non-doing principle in the sense of consciousness. In verse number 13, doing and non-doing is used in the context of consciousness versus actions. Later on, he is going to discuss it in terms of the doing and non-doing as in what should be done, what should not be done. That is what he is going to start from now. Kim karma, kim akarma. And then later on he says, Gahana karmano gati. The nature of action is impenetrable, Arjuna. Impenetrable because the consequences. Impenetrable because of not able to understand the consequences. Even to understand the consequence, you have to rely on somebody's conclusion to the consequence. Understand that, no? Gravity is Newton's conclusion. There is gravity. Whose conclusion it is? Whose conclusion? Newton's conclusion. Even if you want to question and ask and say there is no such thing as gravity at all, the conclusion if you have to come to Nakakuda, what you have to do first? As he says. Are you able to follow? Even if you have to dismiss him, what you have to do? You have to understand him first. Are you able to follow? In understanding him, you will agree with him. In understanding him, you will agree with him. You will never say you are wrong. Are you able to follow? Same attitude, we don't do it to the Shastras. When it comes to the Shastras, we take the route of Anga we follow. In such a useless field of activity, we follow that which should be followed. Here we don't do it because straight away what is it that debates? The ego debates. Since they understood that grown up knowledge in artham. When you say a person is grown up, he is grown in ego in artham. When we say a person is grown up, he is grown up in what? He is grown up in ego. Therefore, what they did, ego romba established arthukku munade catch hold of the human being and teach. Where the ego is not so powerful and looking up to is relatively easy. Ego is not there and looking up to is also relatively easy. There they will understand, and then they may choose to agree with Newton or they may choose to deny him. It doesn't make any difference as far as the law is concerned. But if you have to understand it, first you need to cooperate with that reasoning. Are you able to follow? If you have to understand Newton, you have to cooperate with his style of reasoning. Then only you can understand. Similarly, if you have to understand the Shastras, you have to cooperate with the Shastra's reasoning. What is it? There is a thing called this entire discussion of Kim Karma, Kim Akarma, all this comes about because there is a thing called consequence. And the consequence has to be known before you commence that, before you do it. For after doing, you are bound by the consequence. They say time heals. No. Time doesn't heal anything and all. What is it? You go through that period of, you have to go through that period of pain. It is a way of saying you cannot escape the. Are you able to follow? So, what is doing and what is non-doing at the level of the senses, the mind, the intellect, and the 16 and 17 verses, I will give that list. Tape recorder madri we speak, I speak. And the verse and the portion becomes access. In the you follow? What is doing and non-doing in the context of verse number 13. In the context of verse number 13, doing is the equipments. The non-doing is the consciousness that enlivens it. Is it okay? First question. There is one more question. Yes, Shankar.
That the special cell in the punishment. You said about that.
What is that naraka? What is that naraka? If you somebody is thirsty and if you sell water to him, there is a naraka. Somebody is hungry and if you sell food. This rule is applicable to everything. Somebody is suffering in cold, not having a blanket. What are you supposed to do? Not see it as a business opportunity to make profit. What you are supposed to do? You are supposed to give. You are supposed to give. A person is thirsty, you are supposed to give water. Now, what happens that naraka? You want the description of that naraka? And the description of naraka venuma? Cinema பார்க்கணும்ன்றாரு. சினிமா எல்லாம் காட்ட தெரியாது எனக்கு. You know what is the description of that naraka? There is an English poem. Water everywhere, not a drop to drink of the idol. When you do that, when somebody is thirsty and you sell water, what will happen? What will happen? It's not that you will be in a desert. You will be in the middle of the ocean. You will be in the middle of the ocean where water is everywhere. Can't. And then what happens? இதெல்லாம் description of naraka. சொல்ல முடியாது கிளாஸ்ல அதெல்லாம். Morarji Desai formula. Morarji Desai formula புரியலன்னா after the class கேளுங்க. அதுல சொல்லிருக்கிறது நான் சொல்றேன் அவ்வளவுதான். அது பார்க்க ஐயோ why get into that? You follow? மிச்ச நரகெல்லாம் அப்புறமா after the class. If you sell food, what happens? What will be the type of punishment that you will go through? Scary it is. சரியா? Morarji Desai formula. அவ்வளவுதான். இப்போ Morarji Desai formula தெரியுமா? Who doesn't know Morarji Desai formula? யாருக்கு தெரியாது? After the class, explain to Umaji. She doesn't know what is Morarji Desai formula. இந்த கண்ட்ரில தானே இருந்தீங்க நீங்களும்? Naraka it is. Consequence. Somebody. So what should one do? The opposite they said. If the husband doesn't bring one atithi home, he will not be served food. Exactly the opposite of that. இப்போ முன்னாடியே சொல்லிட்டு வரதுக்கு என்ன? வாட்ஸ்அப்ல சொல்லிட்டாரு வந்திருக்கலாம். சடனா வந்து நின்னா what will? Nothing you can do. So much is there. In 10 minutes you can. Correct. Even before the person can wash the feet and come, you can. That That bhava is gone, that's all. So in those days, if the husband doesn't bring an atiti, food will not be, because of the formula. What is the formula? How is it possible that there will not be a hungry human being? How is it possible? There will be somebody who is starving. There is somebody who is in need. Have you made an effort to? Correct. Very true. Did you make an effort to find and see what can be done? Is the unselfishness too? This is how you move out of your selfishness. Some of the temples, they do even today, they do that ritual. The man will go in 4 gopuram irukku illaya, he will stand at the gate of he will stand at the gate and shout, is there anybody who is hungry? We are going to close the gate. Wonderful is that culture. Are you able to follow? Exactly that's for. How is it possible that how is it possible that there will not be anybody who is not hungry? That's our problem. What can I do about it? God will protect you, that's all. Shankar. Sariya? God will protect you, na? Correct. Is it okay? ஒரு கிளாஸுக்கு ஒரு எபிசோட் போதும். எல்லா எபிசோடும் ஒரே கிளாஸ்ல சொல்லிட்டு அப்புறம் வாட் வில் ஐ டு? சரியா? எஸ் ரூபா. எஸ் எஸ் எஸ். I said, I am repeating the question. First statement, I started the session by saying, anything that you are conscious of is doing. How would you define conscious here? Not consciousness. It is conscious, aware. The moment, what is doing, how would you define conscious here? I explained it. The moment you bring in conscious, what comes along with conscious? What comes with conscious? Conscious of. The conscious of. It means the object has entered, the duality has entered. So, the way in which we understand conscious is nothing but duality. Consciousness is that which is common to both. So, one is conscious, another is consciousness. I said conscious, no? I didn't say consciousness. Clear? Yeah, correct. Are you okay? The first one. The second thing is this is the first question. The second question is, can you not be conscious of doing? Correct? Of non-doing. Can you not be conscious of non-doing? No, it is not possible. Because the non-doing is also a kind of doing only. I choose not to do. The insignia of life is action. Doing is what life is. Non-doing do not exist. Chapter 3. We have established it very clearly. Even the body needs, even the maintenance of the body is possible by non-doing. So you cannot be conscious of non-doing. For the very fact that you are conscious that you are not doing itself is doing. A subtler doing, that's about it. That is why 2 classes back, doing is defined in 3 ways. Manasam, Vachikam, Kayakam. So, some actions are done through the body, some actions are done through the speech, some actions are done through the... I choose not to do and stay quiet is also an... So, in the absolute sense, non-doing is, you cannot be conscious of non-doing, because non-doing as such itself is very limited. Number 2, conscious itself is doing. In relation to the first answer, we have to connect it to the first answer. The first answer said doing means conscious. So, if you replace that word, the first answer is conscious means doing. Now, replace the word in the second question. You get the answer. Can you be conscious of non-doing? Replace the word conscious with doing. Are you able to follow? This is how we arrive. Replace that word. So if you replace that word, what will you get? Are you able to follow? If you replace that word, what will you get? Huh? How can? How can non-doing? Rephrase it. I am not having a pen and paper here. Rephrase it. What do you get? How can you be conscious? Doing conscious, the word conscious should not be there, because conscious means doing according to the first answer. Therefore, in the second question, replace. How to do non-doing. How to do non-doing, which is not possible. That is why action as such continues. Action as such continues, and it never stops. Only upon death it stops. Oh, then another problem. Abdina moksha. If we continue this logic, are you able to follow? Then where is moksha? Then what is the possibility of moksha? Then moksha becomes a myth. Action and bondage becomes the reality. No. There is another. What is the explanation for that? through the right knowledge, the shroud can be removed. The shroud can be removed. When the shroud is removed, what is reveals itself. When all instruments of knowledge is gone, who will know whom? What will know what? What will know what? Who will know whom? Who will be conscious of? Who will be conscious of what? Maitreyi asked. This question is asked by Maitreyi in Brihadaranyaka to Yajnavalkya. Swayam prakashate Atma. It knows itself by itself. Adhukku you don't need? Adhukku you don't need anything? Okay? Seriya? The second question from the class. In the course of explaining non-doing, I said, doing is of three: the good, the bad and the indifferent. The instrument has nothing to do with neither good nor bad nor indifferent. What does this mean? The good, the bad, the indifferent doesn't affect the instrument, it affects the good, the bad, the indifferent affects the doer, not the instrument. Which is what I said. The question is, explain what is that? The knife is the instrument of doing, the holder of the knife is the doer. I am using the same example. The holder of the instrument is the doer. The one who is holding the knife is the doer, and knife is an instrument of doing. Instrument has no, instrument means it has no motive to do, it has no motive not to do, it has no motive to do it the otherwise. Three ways. A motive means the doer has three things. Two, the instrument don't have these three. What are the three? To do, not to do, or do it otherwise. Are you able to follow? Go, this is the basic. For anything, you have these three. You have these three possibilities, correct? You can do, a vidhi is given, a command is given. You can do, you can not do, you can do something else. You can do otherwise. Are you able to follow? A doer has these three. The instrument doesn't have these three. One of the practices of sadhana is to assume the bhava that you are an instrument and undo. Of the various upasanas, of the various types of sadhanas, one type is this. What? You can take the bhava of an instrument and undo. Boss சொல்லிட்டார், அதனால I will follow. You can't do it fully. You know that, no? Because why you can't do that fully? Because you may lose your job and the boss may still keep his job. You follow? One of the wonderful sadhana, one of the wonderful upasana to practice is take the role of assume the bhava of instrument. When you assume the bhava of instrument, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you practicing? Two things you are practicing. One is I will become the knife in your hand. I will become the knife in your hand. Therefore, whatever comes to you, whatever is the consequence of this doing is yours. Whether it is yours or not, I don't know, but definitely not mine. If you can take that bhava. It's a bhava. It's an attitude. One of the wonderful practices. And one of the Vaishnava Sampradaya takes this bhava to the extremity. Takes this bhava to the extremity. For it is one of the wonderful bhavas. What? Assume the bhava of an instrument, not a karta. Two words. Karta, karaka. Karaka means instrument. Karta means doer. Ask yourself, are you getting into the bhava of the doer or are you getting into the bhava of the instrument? Instrument has no independent. The instrument has no independent will. Independent will to do, not to do, or to do it otherwise. Ignorant person kitta poi you cannot allow yourself to be you can't allow yourself to be an instrument in the hands of a ignorant man. Abdina, what to do? You will get irritated with the answer. Tasmat Shastram Pramanante. For they have thought about all this and then gave the vidhi. All that you have to do is what? Assume the bhava of the instrument and do. This is, instrument has nothing to do with instrument. Here, the instrument doesn't derive any benefit. All that the instrument has to do is what? What has to be done to the instrument? Only purification. The knife has to be clean. Avladha. Consequences and all, keep you as an instrument and keep yourself as clean as you can and become the instrument. If you do like this, what happens is stage number 2 you reach. What is stage number 2? You become the non-doing. For you understand, the elements are dealing with the elements, and I have nothing to do with this dealing. Elements deal with the body, deals with the body. Mind deals with the mind. Intellect deals with the intellect. I have nothing to do. Are you able to follow? If you continue like this, now straight away you can't say I have nothing to do with it. You have to start the practice. What is the practice? Of the various practices, one wonderful practice is assume the bhava of an instrument. That is why the Shishya takes the bhava of the instrument, because the Guru is saying, I just become a tool in the Guru's hand. For whatever happens is, why? Because who's the doer? The Guru becomes the doer. Okay, Guru is not there. Or even if there is a Guru, we have a doubt, samshaya, whether he is the right Guru or not, or maybe he have ulterior motives. Every number there. What to do? Go to the Shastras. Either way you understand, instrument has nothing to do with good or bad or indifferent. I am saying it again. It is the bhava. It's a bhava. It is an attitude that you have to bring in and practice. The moment I say it's a bhava, you have to practice it will be limited. Mistakes will happen. Adalla implied here. Practice nale, what is implied? See, practice nale, perfection is not implied, no. How can you practice perfectly? By continuous practice, one day perfection may come. But then our problem is, while we practice only, we ask how to practice. You can only for what is implied in practice. Mistakes and slipping is implied, which is okay. In the sense, assumption is you are quickly bouncing back into assumption like it is okay. You are feeling bad that you are slipping and you want to get back under the light, it is okay. Not okay in the sense of correct. It is okay to make mistakes. Mistakes do happen, but as long as you have the right bhava to bounce back. You follow? Therefore, instrument has nothing to do with good, bad or indifferent. The Guru has said do. Shastras has said do. Niyatam kuru karmatvam. Shastras have said do Do your obligatory duties. Do it. Niyatam kuru karmatvam. Shastras has said. So all that you have to do is what? Simply do. Not with the doer, not with the bhava of the doer, but with the bhava of an instrument. The karta, the karaka. Karaka means instrument. Karta means doer. The doer has a karana. Karaka doesn't have a karana. As a formula. The karta has a karana means motive, reason. The karta has a karana. The karaka instrument doesn't have any reason. Why? Because that's what it is. Knife na it has to. Knife na what it has to do? Cut. It has no. The instrument has no karana. It is the karta that has the karana. Are you okay? You are bound by. Bondage happens in relation to what? In relation to the karana. The consequences is always in relation to the karana. That is why we say the action doesn't matter. It is the intention. It is the attitude for what you do. You have seen it any number of times. You follow? Actions doesn't matter. For the karana that drives it is what that matters. Are you able to follow? Abdinna. What does it mean? Instrument is a bhava which you can practice, which is an effective tool to get to that state of non-doing one day. Straight away you can't reach the state of non-doing. You can start like an instrument and then reach the state of non-doing. Is this an instrument of the instrument here means what is the instrument? Okay, knife undra varaikum it is very clear as an instrument. Now forget the example of knife. When it comes to you, what is the instrument? Correct. Body, mind, intellect is an instrument. Whatever is done through the body, I do it as an instrument. Whatever is done through the mind, I do it as an instrument. Whatever is done through the intellect, you do it as an knife undra varaikum it is easy. But replace the knife with you. Now what is the instrument? That is why it is called the instrument of perception, the instrument of feeling, the instrument of thinking. Another the word instrument nu vechanga. It's called as the instrument of action. Body is an instrument of action. Karmendriyas, jnanendriyas. Mind is an instrument of feeling. Intellect is an instrument of thinking. The pure consciousness enlivens all these and it has nothing to do with all. Now what you can do is you can identify with the body and become the body, become the doer. Helplessly you will be bound by the consequences. Are you able to follow? If you are identified with the mind, whatever the consequence. Identified with the intellect, whatever that. So, instrument has nothing to do with the good, the bad or indifferent. That is the stance he has taken. I created the fourfold caste, Arjuna, but I have. How can the creator say, I am not? See, the creator is responsible, no? Here the creator says, I created, but I am not responsible, no? What kind of doesn't look like a sura. He looks like a asura. Sura or the opposite to the asura. He doesn't look like surana, that which gives hitam. Asura means that which gives pain. So I created it, but I am not responsible. Now he doesn't look like a sura. He looks more like an asura. But what he means is, there are two distinct things. You have a choice to identify with. We have a choice to identify with any one. Shankar. Any one தான். இங்க ஒரு கால், அங்க ஒரு கால்லாம் முடியாது. You can't identify with both at the. You can't serve two masters at the same time. Either you serve God or you serve Satan. You can't serve both at the same time. You follow? Instrument has nothing to do with good, bad and indifferent. The eyes see. The eyes only sees. What classifies it as good, bad or indifferent? What classifies it? What classifies it? What classifies it? Raga, Dvesha. Raga, Dvesha. Eyes only sees. Ears only hear. What classifies it as good or bad or otherwise? What classifies it? It is the ரெண்டு பேர் தான். ராக, துவேஷ, பிரியம், அப்ரியம். பிரியம், அப்ரியம், ராக, துவேஷ. These two constantly, these two pairs is that which brings in the good, the bad, the indifferent. For remove these two pairs, inga the contemplation you have to do. This is the reflection you have to do. Remove these two pairs and see, is there anything good per se? Is there anything good? Is there anything bad per se? Remove these two pairs. What are the two pairs? Priyam, Apriyam, Raga, Dvesha. There you understand the good, bad and indifferent is brought by what? By these two pairs. Killing somebody is always wrong, no sir. Saving somebody is always right, no sir. It all depends upon. It all depends upon. It all depends upon who. Who. So Diwali next Sunday va? Leave கொடுத்துருங்க next Sunday. நான் ஊர்ல இல்ல, அதனால தான் லீவ். நான் ஊர்ல இருந்த தீபாவளிக்கெல்லாம் லீவு கிடையாது. Right or saving somebody always, is it possible? Under all circumstances you have to save somebody, is not possible. Kill somebody, again it is not. Therefore, per se saving the life is also not, doesn't exist. Per se killing also doesn't exist. Then what comes in? Either your welfare or the general welfare. You kill the terrorist because of a welfare. So it is always the pleasant or the priyam, apriyam, raga and dvesha. So seeing things as good, bad or indifferent is because of, is not because of the instrument, is because of these two. And these two is because of ignorance. These two is because of ignorance. Therefore, the cause for good, bad and indifferent is ignorance. Priyam, apriyam, raga, dvesha is arising out of ignorance. Therefore, this good, bad and indifferent and all belongs to the realm of ignorance. And true knowledge is, relatively acting like an instrument in the absolutely non-doing. Relatively the instrument. Absolutely in the absolute sense it is the non-doing. சரியா?